Hello, everyone. Dan with Ben Sobaje, Jordan Hornbeak, and Jesse Madden. Today we're going to talk about top 5 receivers hanging to the 2021 draft. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Nathan.
Anytime. Thank you. So, Jesse, you can start with your number one.
Yeah, so for my number one receiver heading into the 2021 NFL draft, I'm looking at Devonta Smith out of Alabama. He is 6'1" and about 175 pounds. He probably needs to get a little bit bigger to compete in the NFL, but what he did last season and the season before that at Alabama was too hard to pass up, and I think he's the best receiver in this draft class.
All right, so I have Devonta Smith at number one. Also, like Jesse said, this past season that he had is just too hard to overlook. You can't. I mean, Jamar Chase, he's a great receiver. Also, don't get me wrong, but with him opting out of the season and Devonta Smith having that huge season, I like him as the number one receiver, and him winning the Heisman, that speaks for itself. And then it was crazy. Like against Ohio State, it looked like he wasn't even trying when he was running, but no one could keep up or cover him.
Okay, I'm third. And yeah, I think Devonta Smith, like you guys said, it's just impossible to overlook that season that he's had for like the past 2 years or 3. And I mean, his speed and like, I don't know, just his ability to play the game and how fast he can move. It's just kind of crazy. And I think he'll be a good addition to a team in the NFL.
Yeah, for my number one is Devonta Smith too. Like all three you said, possible to overlook, the season he had. I mean, what he finished second or third in the Heisman votes, something like, or did he won it? He won it. So I mean, sure. When's the last time a receiver won the Heisman or a position outside of the quarterback? Yeah. So what is that? 20 some years ago. I mean, making history right there. So. With him doing that and his speed, I mean, yeah, against Ohio State, I mean, it looked like he was jogging like 85% and nobody could cover him. So.
Yeah, so for my number two receiver heading into the 2021 NFL draft, I selected Jamar Chase. And I did that because he opted out, and I wasn't a fan of that. I thought that was the wrong decision. He should have played. But you can't really overlook his season he had 2 years ago with that LSU team. They went 15-0, won the national championship, and he was their number one weapon. But besides Joe Burrow, he was the quarterback. But Chase was the number one receiver, and probably needs to work on his speed a little bit. But I think he's going to be a great player at the NFL level.
I have Jamar Chase as my number two receiver. Also, like Jesse was saying about that season where they won the national championship with Joe Burrow, he was making a lot of plays. He can go up for it if you need him to. I do think he should have played this season to get some more film on him, because the debate with Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith might be a little closer, but I still think with Smith's season that he'd be number one. But I agree. But he's been preparing for the draft when he opted out, so he shouldn't be too rusty. So
my number two is also Jamar Chase. And I agree with you guys. Even though he opted out, it's too hard to overlook that season that he had as like the main weapon aside from Joe Burrow and the points that he was racking up. And I think he'll be good on, I don't know, I think he'll just be a good point scorer for any team he goes to.
Yeah, my number two was also Jamar Chase. Great season when Joe Burrow was there. I mean, he played alongside Justin Jefferson too that year, and that was a first rounder. So, or was he a first rounder?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you playing alongside a first rounder, of a first round receiver, first round quarterback. Then they had Thad Moss tight end. I mean, that's a lot of weapons, and for him to be able to really flourish alongside those guys, just shows, if he goes to a team that has a little bit less offensive firepower than that LSU team did, you can see him kind of replicate that same success.
And him being like a sophomore then too, with all those weapons, like crazy.
Yeah, he's a very impressive player. But for my number 3 receiver heading into this draft, I selected Jaylen Waddle out of Alabama. And I did that because he got hurt. He hurt his ankle in the Tennessee game. But before that, he was on fire. He had a great game against Georgia. And that was when they were ranked, I believe, number 3rd in the country. And Bama was number 2 in the country. And he also had a great career at Alabama, 2 years ago, and even as a true freshman when he was returning kicks. And his career, his body of work that he had at Alabama, considering the other weapons that were in that receiver room, and how he was able to shine for 3 straight years in the most competitive environment in college football. I think he's going to transfer well to the NFL. And whether that's catching like 10 balls a game or just returning kicks, doing what he did his freshman year, he's going to be a playmaker, definitely.
I agree. I have Jaylen Waddle at number 3 also. Like you said, like with that receiving core, because for like Ruggs, Judy, Smith, all of them, he was returning kicks. He can make an impact there, even if it wasn't just that running routes. And also, like you said, he was having a big season before the injury, but also like what stood out to me was when he came back in the national championship when he hurt his ankle against Tennessee. Everyone thought he wasn't going to return for the rest of the season, but he came back well. He wasn't at 100%, but he played in the national championship game, and you could see he was like wobbling after, but he was still making good plays for them, and it was impressive with considering how he had that injury.
Yeah. I have Jaylen Waddle as my 3rd too, and just this season he's been a like key weapon, and like when he got hurt against Tennessee, I agree with Nathan. No one really thought he was going to come back, and then recovering from that a little and still being a key weapon is hard to do. And how he pulled that off amazes me. And so I'm going Jaylen Waddle for 3rd.
Yeah, my number 3 was Jaylen Waddle. Like you said, Nathan, learning from Ruggs, Judy, and all those guys. I think that could be some. They're all great route runners. Just being in the room with them and out at practice with them. You definitely pick up different things that each one of them does the best. And as a younger guy alongside them, you kind of sponge it all in. So he probably has things that he's never even had to show at the college level because he's been alongside Devonta Smith or Najee in the backfield. So it's probably things that he has in his toolbox that he could bring out in the NFL. But that definitely a dynamic dude, and it's very tough. Literally hobbling off the field in the Ohio State game, but still. I mean, while dudes are tweeting like, bro, just step off the field. You don't need to do this. You're going to hurt yourself. But, he chose us to go out there and play. So.
Yeah, so for my number 4, this one might be different than you guys, which is good because we've had the same 3 receivers. So my number 4 is Cadarius Toney from University of Florida. And I put him because he, like the first 3 guys we named, he played at a very high level in the most competitive conference in college football, which is the SEC. And he did this at Florida where there was a plethora of weapons. They have Kyle Pitts, Trayvon Grimes, and then Toney as well. And I love how he just shined throughout the season. And when he opted out of the bowl game, the Florida team just totally lost their speed, and they didn't look the same without him. And a lot of people don't like him because he's not that big. He's only 6 foot, and he's really fast and he's really dynamic. But a lot of people don't think he is a top receiver in this class. But I do. I for sure think he should be selected within the first couple rounds, maybe a 3rd round pick in this draft.
Yeah, I'm glad we have different ones now. So my number 4 is Rondale Moore from Purdue. I like his explosiveness and speed. He's not that tall, but going back to his freshman year when they upset Ohio State, that was crazy. He was making plays all over the field, and Purdue blew Ohio State out. He reminds me of like a Tyreek Hill or a Steve Smith back from the Panthers, how he can extend the plays and he's hard to tackle with his jukes. I think he can be one of those nice skill players to be used in the NFL with a team.
I have Rashad Bateman on Minnesota. I think he'll be a good addition to any team really. Being 6'2", I think he'll be able to play, like make a lot of plays, and I just think he'll be a key weapon, and they'll be able to use him, and so I think he'll help whoever he goes to.
Yeah, for my number 4, I got Cadarius Toney. Like Jesse, my thing I liked the most about him was his route running ability. I like a lot of the top guys in this draft. He could run any route in the route tree, and he's very good at doing all of them. He's creative. He's creative within his route running, kind of like Jerry Jeudy is. I think he'll definitely be a steal to whoever picks him in this draft. I mean, he's not projected to go high, so you can wait a couple rounds and get him later on, but whoever picks him is definitely going to get a steal.
Yeah, I agree with all your points on Kadarius Toney, and that's why I had him in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But for my 5th receiver, I kind of went – the first 4 that I named were all kind of I think Devonta Smith is 6'1", but none of those guys were big receivers. So for this one, I went back to Florida and selected Trayvon Grimes because he's 6'4" and 218 pounds. And in the NFL, you need to have that goal line guy who can catch those jump balls. And it's very important. And there are a lot of NFL offenses that struggle because they don't have a big red zone target. So I think that with Trayvon Grimes' height and his ability to make plays in the red zone, catching goal line slants, using his body to box out people with the fade, the curl, the slant, like I just said, I think he's going to be super effective. He might not have a lot of yards or a lot of catches, but I think he'll be a big red zone guy, so he'll have a lot of touchdowns to whatever team drafts him.
It's like with the height, like how you have like DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, those guys who are making an impact.
Yeah, I actually do. I love the T. Higgins comparison, because I mean DK's really freaking strong too, but Trayvon Grimes isn't that big, but he's tall and he's long, like T. Higgins. T. Higgins has very long arms, and so does Trayvon Grimes. And I think he'll be a big red zone target for whatever quarterback he plays for.
So at my number 5, I have Rashad Bateman from Minnesota. He can make a lot of big plays for you. And his footwork, when I was watching his film on a fade, he burnt a corner and he was wide open. He reminds me of like Michael Thomas because at Minnesota, he was running a lot of slants and like hitches. He could extend the play, but he was a reliable target that can get you receptions. And I just like him. I think he can make an impact.
For my number 5, I have Rondale Moore. Like Nathan said, just because of his explosiveness and his speed, and that game against Ohio State when he was shredding them, and his ability to juke people out, and I think he'll be a good bonus to any team and able to make plays and take it down the field.
Yeah, for my number 5, I had Rashad Bateman. Definitely a dude who's very physical. Like Nathan said, he's running a lot of shorter routes like Michael Thomas does, but he can definitely extend the play. And even though he's not the tallest dude in the draft, he definitely plays bigger than his size gives him. And I mean, a lot of offenses lack that guy right now. So, definitely a later round guy, but if he's there, a team maybe like the Ravens and many others, or the Dolphins could, pick him up.
I would definitely make an impact, I think, also. Like that. All right, so thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Nathan.
Yep. Thank you, Nathan.
Anytime.